Good evening, everybody. The Music Fan is back, bringing smiles to the faces, knowledge to the people, and most importantly, music to the masses. And I know what you're all thinking. What the heck are you doing back here? You said you weren't going to be making an intro or an outro video pertaining to this list until the list was over. And you'd be right. You'd be 100% right, except for one small issue. And to peel back behind the curtain for just a minute, as you can probably tell, I don't do these videos live. There's a lot of editing, there's a lot of jumps, there's a lot of cuts to bring the time of these videos down, because trust me, they can be a lot longer if you saw some of my previous videos. So I also don't do any of these videos in advance, and the reason for that is I just don't have much of the time with my schedule. Usually I am recording a video and then editing it and putting it up in order of when I need to get them out. There's only very few times where I do any advance work, and this time with Ryan is a particular case. For the reasoning for that is because our schedules differ so much that we only have a small window of time where we can actually work together on videos. So I did this in advance and then put it off because I had these other videos to edit. Now, something that you've also been watching as I've been editing these videos is I'm also putting in the album covers of each one of these albums so that you have a visual cue and something to look at as I'm talking about these albums. And say you like one of them, you know what it looks like when you actually start looking for the album to listen to. And as I was doing that particular process for the videos with me and Ryan, I found two errors. The first one is pretty easy to explain away. The second one is not so much. So let me tell you about both. The first one, and the more benign of the mistakes, is from last video. If you watched the beginning of it, you saw that Ryan's number 10 album of the year was an album called Verdugo by a band called Margot and the Nuclear So-and-Sos. Now, that's half right. And the reason this is kind of an issue is because if you type it into Google, the particular way that Ryan said it, you wouldn't be able to find that particular album. But what you actually find is Verdugo by Richard Edwards. The reasoning for that is because Richard Edwards is part of that band, but it wasn't that band itself for the album, it was just him. So it's half right, and it's very small. I fixed that in the description of this video, and also Ryan basically said that in her explanation for this. So, you know, it might have been confusing, but that's what it is. It's not Margot and the Nuclear So-and-Sos for this album, it is only Richard Edwards. Very easy to explain away. The second one is a little bit harder. Now, another little thing is I have a particular calendar or document, if you will, for all the albums that I'm interested in listening to coming out in 2018 or any particular year that I'm doing. So that way I'm up to date and I am 100% sure that if I put an album on my list, it is from 2018. Now, unfortunately, this next album, literally the next album that we talk about after I finish this intro, doesn't fit that criteria exactly. So the particular album that is going to be talked about is one that actually didn't come out in 2018 but was re-released in 2018. This album is from 2014, which is somewhat of a problem. Now I can understand it, and now actually looking back and talking to Ryan, and also looking it up myself, the kind of confusion is if you listen to it on Spotify, it says that it came out in 2018. And the other thing is that there actually are new tracks to this album. It's just it came out in 2014. Now, this one is a little bit hard to explain away because technically if we were to go by my rules, I can't really put an album in that isn't originally from the year. It's something that was already out there in the media. People have already heard it, so it's kind of hard to be like, yeah, this is a favorite album from this year, even if there is new stuff and it is been reissued or re-released. The similar thing happened actually a year ago. I never said this, but since we were already in this type of discussion, let me tell you real quickly. When I was working with Josh last year on the top 10 albums of 2017, we had gone through a whole entire hour-long video, and we got to number 2. And Josh says that Damn by Kendrick Lamar was his number 2 album. And I was surprised to hear that, because when we reviewed this album a very long time ago, it was so high praised by him that I was surprised that he put it in number 2, especially after hearing all the other albums that he had talked about. I couldn't really think of a number 1 that he hasn't gotten to. And he tells me his number 1 after an hour-long video, and it was Childish Gambino's Awaken My Love. The only problem with that is that was an album that came out in 2016. In December of 2016. I know, I listened to it. I had it on my list. So that was a problem. And luckily I was able to catch that. I knew it, and I was like, okay, hey, we're going to move everything up. And you're just going to tell me a new number 10. So that was fine. Unfortunately for this particular one, I didn't know the artist so well in terms of Ryanne's number 8. So I didn't catch that until literally editing this a couple days ago. So I'm going to keep it in there because I think the album and the concept of it and how she talks about it is very interesting. And I think it's an album that a lot of people haven't listened to in general. And it being re-released in 2018, it's a perfect time to get to listen to it. So I'm going to keep it in. But know that it technically doesn't fit the criteria, but it's interesting enough. And again, not to take away anything from Ryanne's work. She's done fantastic. She brought a lot of really good material to the table, a lot of good information. The banter is great. I really hope that you enjoyed the first part with her so far, as well as this one and the next 3 that are coming up, because I think we really work well together. And hey, if you do agree with that, I'll ask, hey, let me know, because I would like to do more videos with her, whether it's an album review, whether it's a digger through photography, whether it's talking about music in general. I would love to get to do more videos with her. She brings a lot to the table, and I hope that you agree. But this is the last of these intros, again, until the end of the last part. I'll come back with a quick recap and a couple of things to look forward to in the year. But I'll ask one more time, if you do enjoy this, give this video a like, share this with your friends, let me know about your favorite albums of 2018 or your least favorite albums. Subscribe to my channel, that would be the most important thing, and just keep watching. So this was a little bit long, but I just wanted to quickly explain that. So now enjoy part 7 of the top 50 albums of 2018 as we go over our 8th and 7th favorite albums of the year.
Okay, so moving on. My number 8 is Metallic Butterfly by Princess Nokia. Princess Nokia is a bad bitch. Like, she is so cool. So this album kind of deviates from her standard sound. So most of her discography is her rapping, and it's like very hard stuff about like living in New York, like being like a tomboy, like not taking shit. And this album is just so much softer. It's really electronic, but in like a very quiet, calm way. So some of the songs like can be a little repetitive, but it's just because it's like sinking you into this like synth like weird realm. That's why it's called like Metallic Butterflies, because it does feel just like, I don't know, very like machine almost. But then she comes in with this voice that's like so different from any of her other stuff, and she almost sounds like a 4-year-old girl at times. Like her voice just has this like high tinny pitch to it.
Okay.
This album is just like sensitive. Like that's the best way I can describe it. It's like sensitive, and a lot of the focus in it is on relationships and like her actualizing like self-love. It's just a really nice listen for like either driving or just sitting in bed and like zoning out, you know, because it's not a like album that you have to pay attention to the lyrics in all the time, you know, like lyrically it doesn't really stand out all throughout the board, but it is just like such a weirdly pleasant listening sensation. I don't even know how to describe it. It just like makes me very mellow.
So,
and also I adore her.
So is she rapping on this album as well, though?
A little bit. Like, a little, it'll pop into, like, a couple different songs.
Okay.
But it's so unique, like, her sound in this album. Like, I wouldn't expect to like her singing voice. Mm-hmm. She's got one of those voices, like, we all, like, have artists that, like, we love the music, but we hate the way their voice sounds,
Creed.
Creed, Jesus. Neutral Milk Hotel. Jeff Magnum has, like, such an annoying voice.
I love you.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ. Like, so annoying. Yeah, Princess Nokia she kind of came out with just, like, such a soft, pleasant, but also, like, I don't know, like, techno-y album that it's just, like, a lot of fun. It's really cool.
So I've heard the name before. I definitely have. Now, for people who like Princess Nokia, would they like this album? So
it kind of depends. So Princess Nokia, before she really got big rapping, she released a couple songs that were soft and like metallic like this. She took off because she like rapped a little bit in one of them, and that got recognized.
Okay.
So if you've been with Princess Nokia from the very beginning, this is the Princess Nokia you know. Mm-hmm. If you haven't, and you only listened to her last album, which for some reason I can't remember the name of, this is going to be, I'm not going to say you're not going to like it, but it's very different. Mm-hmm. Very, very different. And, I wasn't with her from the beginning, but I liked both albums. If you had told me they were written by two completely different people, I would 1,000% be like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Okay.
But, both of them are enjoyable. Like,
right.
Both of them are really enjoyable.
Nice. I'll definitely have to take a look then.
Yeah.
So my number 8, I didn't have it before when I was listening to all the other albums I was listening to, but a really nice site, by the way, I'm going to plug real quick, if you want to look at like a lot of really good albums, is Album of the Year. It has this idea of an aggregate top 50 list. So everyone that voted for a top 50 list, they put all the scores together and then made an aggregate. And this was one that I found from there, which is Low, and their newest album, Double Negative. Now, I'd never listened to a Low album before, but I was just so entranced by the atmospheric sound that they create. A lot of their stuff is very simplistic, very drony, but a lot of beautiful harmonies, a lot of just really, really interesting music. It's one where you have to listen to the whole entire album. And it's just, the cool thing about it is like every song kind of like flows in onto the next one. So I really love that idea whenever I see that in an album. I think that's a really cool thing. I usually hear it in concept albums, but I don't necessarily have to. And it's cool to see it in a kind of standalone album. It does get a little bit weird sometimes, and there are some songs that I don't personally like, but throughout the whole entire album, there's only maybe one or two songs that I don't like. And it just, from the get-go, it gets you into that mood. Like there's this song at the beginning that kind of has this a little bit electronic tinge and glitchy ideas while the song is going on, so it feels a little bit off, and you're fine with that.
I like that.
And then every single song kind of has that feel to it as it goes on. And there are moments of really beautiful stuff, and there are moments of very, very glitchy stuff, and it all seamlessly works. It was one that I didn't think I was going to like, but really came out enjoying it.
Wow. I've honestly never heard of that band. I've never heard of them.
Me neither.
That's like, it's just interesting to me that they got on like the top 50, because you and I consider both of us like buffs on like music that no one really listens to, and then for that to make a top 50 list, and for neither of us to have ever heard of it is like very bizarre to me.
Right. As our little...
Yeah, pretentious much. But no, that's super cool.
Yeah.
That sounds like... So if you had to categorize that into a specific genre?
It's, I would say like electronic indie.
Okay. I like that.
And there's, spoiler, but there will be another one from someone new later in this list. I don't know, maybe you've heard them, maybe not, but I'm not going to say until we actually get to it.
I like a challenge.
Yeah.
Okay. So breaking from like the last couple albums I've named, my number 7 is Slime Language by Young Thug. So trap for me, like, it's hard for me to admit that I'm a huge fan of trap music, only because there was a long time where I was like,
and
so
this is
set.
the end of the video.
I was
glad that we...
I was so set on being like a hipster that I was like, that's not music, like I can't enjoy that. Slime language bops, and Young Thug on so many of the tracks on this album, like sings a little bit, and he's got such a crazy, weird, unique voice when he starts singing. Like, he has a song on his last album called Jeffrey or something, and he's so fun to listen to. Also, though, a big reason I really like this album, he brings on a bunch of cool female rappers that I'd never heard of. Like Dora and Dolly, which I think are actually his sisters, come on and rap on this album. And just all of their features are so phenomenal. This is a really fun album to just drive to, you know, because like you can kind of like let go and just really get into it. And, you know, I've been a Young Thug fan for like a while. So when this album came out, I was just like really excited about its release. And I think he actually got like arrested at Dave & Buster's like a day after he released the album, which just made for such good marketing because I guess he was like blasting his shit out of Dave & Buster's or whatever. This is a really cool, just like fun, boppy album. I don't know. And the thing about it is like the reason it's even on this list is because there's not one song on that album that I don't enjoy. You know, because, like, it's easier to make a bad song in a genre that's not, like, trap.
Right.
You know?
Yes.
Like,
because when it's bad in trap, it's really bad in trap.
Yeah, but like, when it's bad in, you know, like, an acoustic indie album, like, it's noticeable.
Right.
Like, it's noticeable because it will break away from, like, so much of the other sound you're hearing. So, yeah, I don't know. I knew you were going to judge me for that one, but it slaps.
Well, so
it's
here's
good.
my thing. I haven't found a trap album that I've liked yet, and I tried to listen to Astroworld. I tried to listen to Invasion of Privacy, Cardi B's album.
Oh, yeah.
I've listened to Culture. I listened to Jeffrey, and none of these albums I like. I there's just something about trap that I don't like. I think it's the lack of instrumentation.
Probably.
I think, like you're saying, yes, like in other genres, when it's bad, it's noticeable because it strays away from that. But on the opposite end, I can't really find good trap because all of it sounds very similar to me. Like, there's been people who are claiming that, what is it? Oh, my God, that song from Astroworld. There's a song on there. You guys are going to hate me for not knowing it. And if you do know it, please let me know in the description. But some people are comparing it to basically the Bohemian Rhapsody of trap. And it's like, I listen to it and it's like, I can't see it. It's just a genre for me that I haven't found something that's truly interesting. And that was the same thing for dubstep for a very long time. Then eventually, like with the EDM phase, eventually got to a point where I could enjoy a lot of it. Hopefully there is someone that I could listen to and enjoy trap, but I haven't found it yet. So,
I might say give this album a shot. Give this album a shot.
See, the thing though is that when Jeffrey came out, it was highly raved.
Yeah.
And I didn't see it. I didn't see it at all. So I'll try. I can't make any promises.
Well, it's funny that you say, like, that you, like, found a dubstep artist that you could get into. Like, I have yet to do that. I've yet to do that. Dubstep is, like, the one genre where it's, like, impossible for me to get behind it.
But, like, EDM?
Yeah, like, EDM, no. Doesn't really cut it for me. Actually, that's a lie. There's a couple EDM songs that Danny Brown pops in on.
Yeah.
Quality pieces of music right there.
We're still on number 7. All right. So, number 7 for me, Janelle Monáe. Janelle Monáe.
Really?
Dirty Computer. Yep. So, I know everybody is raving about this album. I know in the aggregate it is the best album above Be the Cowboy by Mitski, which honestly
doesn't cut it for me.
Doesn't cut it for me either. Don't get me wrong. This is a fantastic album. I love most of it. I love the feel of different pop eras that they're throwing in there. Like on What You Make Me Feel is very Princey, very 80s, but also Don't Judge Me is kind of like that late 90s, early 2000s R&B feel, which I love. The chord progression in there is fantastic. She sounds amazing on it. Even the beginning with Brian Wilson on Dirty Computer or Take a Bite, I enjoy that one a lot. Screwed kind of feels like somewhat like a Miley Cyrus-ish like pop song.
Okay, I can see that.
Where like just the way that people are singing on it is very like nasally and very like white in a way.
Very white. Christ.
But Like, also, like, the fact that they're talking a lot about gender politics, talking a lot about race relations in the country, and even the idea of the image that you have on the internet rather than your actual image, and, like, taking that idea into its own concept, I really enjoy. And I know that there's even, like a 40-minute video for it. I'm not going to include this into that because I can't talk about videos if no other album is doing that. But it's a fantastic album. I just think there's a couple of songs at the end that I don't really enjoy. So Afraid, I'm not a huge fan of. Pink, I don't. It's a fun song, but I don't think it works. I think that the mixture of like the very bubbly at parts with Grimes, and then all of a sudden gets into this very like electronic rock with these auto-tuned vocals. That part I like. There is not enough of that.
Yeah.
So, fantastic album that bridges a lot of different ideas. I just think that there are 6 albums that are better.
Okay, I mean, I'm not going to comment too much on this because I have my own thoughts on that album that we definitely will be hearing. But wow. I mean, okay, I understand.
It's 7.
I'm not going to be hurt by that.
It's 7.
Yeah, that's fine. It's not like it's number 10. If it was number 10, I would probably have to get up and walk out of this room.
To be fair, I almost had this off of my list. Out of my top 10.
Wow. I mean, Janelle Monáe, I can understand why some of the songs, like, don't hit as hard. I agree with you, actually, that at the end of the album, it gets harder to invest in the songs. Like, they just don't really connect as hard. And then she does have a couple weird genre breakers on there. Like, Pink, personally, I love, and I'll get into why, like, later. But I can see why it would kind of be, like, grating, almost.
It's not bad.
It's not bad.
It's just not, comparatively to the rest of the album, I don't really like as much. Especially, also, like, I like that. It's an alright song, but it doesn't sound any different from anything else that's going on in pop music right now.
I feel like the album definitely could have been, like, 3 songs shorter. And it wouldn't have, you know, it wouldn't be lacking.
Right.
In that case. But, like I said, I'll expand upon that. Wanna move on?
Yeah.